combination of getting OBS to work at the same time with my webcam on that at the same time as like we're talking on GChat
Mm-hmm.
or Google Hangouts, whatever this is.
Yeah,
Uh,
Google.
it doesn't always. Anyways, yeah. Sometimes I just have to. I hit stream and it's like no, and then I hit it 2 or 3 more times and eventually it works.
That's crazy.
I
I
don't
think
know
I've had
the.
that once. Yeah. When OBS was like your key didn't accept or something. I see us on Twitch,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that
All right.
looks good.
It's
It's
working.
nice and bright.
Okay. I'm going to. Don't talk for a second.
It's good.
It's
It's
working.
nice and bright.
Okay. I'm going to. Don't talk for a second. Okay. I think I'm louder than you, so I'm going to turn myself down. All right. Now talk for a bit.
I am testing my ABCs.
And I.
A, B, and then this is my loud talk, like,
And
that's like classic me.
I'm rudely interrupting you.
Talk like,
And I'm.
that's all right. Am I
I'm
good?
rudely interrupting you.
Talk like, test, test, test,
Okay. Yeah.
test,
Yeah.
test, test, test,
So
test.
you can't do that while I'm doing it because then we get echo, right? Because what I'm truly is I'm listening to this. This isn't for good science. This is poorly done. But yeah, I think we're good. We're balanced.
Okay.
We've now mic balanced. Happy. You know, I was about to. I couldn't get a guest today, and I was about to like stream dev for the first time in months. I was like, maybe I'll
Oh
just
no, should have let you
stream.
do that.
No,
Shit.
I got like, I was like really nervous. I was like, what the hell? I forgot how. I was like,
Have you been messing around with
what
your
if it meshes up?
prototypes and stuff?
Yeah. Oh, we could talk about that. We could talk about that in the podcast.
Yeah, let's talk about prototypes and stuff because I fucking love prototypes.
Yeah, we could talk about that. What else do you want to talk about in the podcast? Hey, Sapphire.
I wouldn't mind mentioning. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's just go.
Hey, you wanna just start? I'll just start and like people roll in and we'll ignore them. That seems
Let
good.
me. Do we have a tweet that I can retweet with the link to
Yeah.
the actual podcast?
Yeah, I tweet. Oh, here, I'm tweeting now. Bink. Just tweeted. We're now live.
Okay. Let me see. With the link to your. There we are. No.
Did I not like it? Did I do the wrong thing?
No, you just wrote my name. Like, you know how I did that one time where I was like, yeah, I'm hanging out with Gwen. But like, I didn't have a link to the actual podcast.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Well, maybe we're supposed to hang out. We don't record a lot of conversations. We actually
Yeah, it's
do. I don't
fine.
see you in real life. Okay.
I'm in the
Right.
middle of nowhere. I got no indies over here.
Yeah, where do you live again?
Memphis.
Yeah, that's
That's like in the middle of nowhere.
cheap of cost of living, great place to raise a family. It's
What, in
upside.
Memphis?
Yeah, kind of, right?
Hmm.
Good barbecue.
I'm gonna let that slide for
Oh,
now.
well, yeah, well, great place,
Barbecue's good. Barbecue's really
cheap
good.
place to raise a family.
You can ask Seth. You can ask Seth. He was here.
Yeah, yeah. I like Carolina barbecue. I'm like the only one.
I haven't had Carolina barbecue. I would need to try that out.
It's vinegary. I dig it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like it a
That
lot.
sounds good. There's a
Uh,
place called the oh my god, where did we go? Oh geez. Never mind. Skip it. I don't remember the name.
dude.
It's where I took Seth. It was really, really good though. It was really good. And
Yeah.
I felt like I had been missing out my whole life.
I will say, so Virginia is technically the South, so we should have Southern food, but it's not it, man. Like the Southern, you don't get like hush puppies and barbecue in Virginia. It's
Ooh,
not.
them hush puppies.
You don't get the good shit. Like,
Yeah. I'm a big fan. You know what? In Boston there was a Tennessee barbecue place. Right. It was like 15 minutes away from work. And I used to go there and they would like slow cook everything.
what
It
in
was amazing.
Quincy?
Yeah, well, maybe not Quincy. It was just outside of Quincy. Like you would drive there for like 15
Oh,
minutes. You'd
15
get
minute drive.
there. It was near like a Best Buy, a Toys R Us, and like a small mall and like a Chili's or something. And there was yeah, it was great. They
You,
slow cooked everything. You just walk in, they give it to you in like less than 5 minutes, and it's the most amazing food.
dude, I'm glad I didn't know about that. I didn't drive much when I was in Quincy. I will say, Quincy had alarmingly good pho. Like better pho
Hmm.
than I ever had in San Francisco. Because there's
I
this very
really dislike
small.
that.
There's like this pocket, this Vietnamese population that's
Hmm.
just like I don't also culinary geniuses. Like I don't know the deal, but it was good pho. We shouldn't talk about that on the podcast though, because that'll. I don't think our
This is just the warm up. This is just the warm up.
I don't think our
Let's go.
listeners. Yeah, no,
Could
it's
talk
pretty
about
good.
food all day.
Yeah, dude.
I can still see my code. I don't see your code though.
You can still see your
So
code.
yeah, on Twitch.
Oh yeah. So what I did was I blocked out. Hold on, wait. I blocked out my face in the bottom corner because I
Oh, I
couldn't.
see.
The other thing is I couldn't figure out how to. What do you call it? I mean,
Do you just have a bunch of layers
I
going on
could
right now
figure
in
it out.
Photoshop?
Yeah, but the other thing is like, so there's my webcam is on the top,
Oh, I
right?
see. I
And then
see. I
on
see.
another layer, I've got like this giant square box, but I couldn't figure out how to make it a rectangle. And I was like, well, we only have a minute, fuck it. And so like I couldn't, if I put a rectangle here, that would have like ruined the aesthetic, right? Because it would block out half of the Photoshop thing. And then it's like, who are we kidding? Like what? We don't.
We're
We work
inside
at
Photoshop
we
right
work
now.
in
Why do we
we're
care?
indie, man. We're indie. We don't give a shit. It's
Why do
fine.
we care? All right, cool. No, we're good. We're good. I
Okay.
see it now.
Okay, no, but seriously, what were we talking about this week? What happened this week? Did anything happen?
I don't know. More AAA games came out recently.
Yeah.
Lots
That's
of good stuff. I've been playing games. I've been playing a lot of VR recently, actually.
All right, we'll start the
Um,
podcast talking about VR because you pinged me at one point about a VR game you wanted to chat about.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been playing a lot of that. That stuff's good. Yeah. Do you wanna? Let me retweet a link to the actual cast and put it in my Discord as well.
Did you have a mustache last time I saw you, or is this the Chris Remo halo? No, everybody's got to have a mustache.
It's gonna have. I don't really consider this a mustache. It's just light hair that's just landed on my face. I don't have a
I was being
mustache.
polite, Mojica.
Thank you, Gwen.
You're welcome.
You're a true friend. I actually have a trophy in my closet for the mustache trophy when we were at Irrational. I still
I
have.
thought Nicole won that.
No, she won second place.
Oh.
I, who didn't produce an actual mustache, won first place.
I remember that. That's right. Everyone got their mustaches and they're like, wow, Mojica really didn't shave. And
Yeah,
this is
they're
where
like-
we are.
They're like, "Did you shave, Mojica?" And I was like, "No."
Well, I mean, it was clear that you didn't because it did get like one
There's
more
like
hair
a little bit of
day.
there. There was a little bit there.
It was more like
Yeah.
a hair grew really long. We're like,
This
there's
is
no.
like a few weeks of not shaving. Weeks.
I mean, you could. I don't know. I don't know.
And I was like talking to my dad, and I was like, "You should shave, Dad." He's like, "I did today." It's like, oh, He, like his face. Yeah. All right, I'm posting in stream links. Okay.
Okay. Oh shit! Right. So I never do this right. I should post in my Discord. Teach me how to be a
Saying
fucking developer.
everyone on stream with Gwen as we chat games. I'm gonna send this to 300 plus people. Used to be 1,000, but then once you reach 1,000 people in your Discord, you can no longer send it to that many people.
That's polite. I respect that.
I suppose so, but it totally kills your momentum.
All right, let's start, and then we'll kick off right into there because I have questions already.
All right, let's go.
All right. This is the dialogue box. This is Gwen Frey, and today Chris Light is still in transit back, setting up in the UK. And so this week I'm joined with Jason Mojica from Proteus.
What's up, everybody?
What's up? This is your third time here?
I think it's my fourth.
Fourth time here? We can't get rid of you, Mojica.
No, I guess just keep coming back.
But you were just telling me your Discord has, you can't message everyone on your Discord because your Discord's over 1,000 people,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Congratulations. That sounds like probably a big deal.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know.
You know, it's interesting. So right after we reached 1,000, Discord created a folders type thing. And I don't know if you know this, but on the left side, you know where all the icons are on your Discord?
Yeah.
You can drag and drop them kind of like an iPhone into like a
I've
folder
done that
structure.
accidentally, and it creates like a folder out of it.
Yeah, so I think that was sort of like death of indie like groups over Discord, because once you can put everything that isn't your general buddy hangout, into a folder, you can just right click on the folder and say mark as read, and like things dramatically slowed down for us once the folder thing was introduced, which I found was very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but then there's that, and yeah, and then once you hit 1,000, they don't let you ping everybody after 1,000, so only people who are on at that time
That's
get pinged.
probably good. Like as a
Yeah, but I
person,
mean,
I don't want to be like I don't want to be that. I hate being
we
as
don't ping that often.
accessible.
I'll just say that. So
Yeah, I
as a
know.
person who has the power to ping, I dare not ping everyone that often.
I
I'll just say
just
that.
I prefer to opt into my media. Like I get
True, it's true.
interrupted just all the time. I try to make it so that nothing notifies me anymore. It's just like I have such a hard time getting into the flow, especially like there's days when you wake up and you know exactly what you want to do, but a lot of the days aren't that, especially towards the end or the beginning of a project, and
Yeah.
the constant interruptions are like death for
Yeah. No,
me.
I think that's something to be said about, like on Twitter, you can just kind of, I'm gonna turn off Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And you can just avoid it. And then, but on Discord, it's like somebody's talking to you now, they
It's such
sort of expect a response.
maybe I don't like that. Well, the thing is like that would be cool if you were in a chat room. You can be like, okay, I'm in the chat room now, and now I'm not in the chat room. But
Yeah.
the problem with Discord is you're always in it. Like you boot up you join a server, and then you're in Discord, and it's like, do you want a service where you're in a chat room always, where you're always accessible at all times? I don't think that's
Right.
fair, right? Like I don't want to be permanently present in a chat room. I don't like sometimes I want to go to the toilet. Like I don't want to like I don't know, like I want to go to dinner. I want to be left alone for like a fucking hour, right?
Well,
Without
they
having
have
to leave
you
my
can
server.
set yourself to like offline or whatever. I mean, they have settings. They have custom titles now underneath. So you could say, if you really want to, you could say like, "I'm taking a dump, leave me alone,"
Or you could you
with the
won't.
little poop emoji.
Yeah.
Taking a dump, leave me alone.
I don't know. I go back and forth on that stuff because I'm definitely addicted to it in a way. Is the problem? Like I go through phases where I'm just way too addicted to the to all this stuff. Shit, did our Twitch stream drop out?
Still working for me.
Oh, okay. Well, I will ignore that. Anyway,
At least at the moment, it is.
yeah. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. This goes back to Gwen's bad at social media. Uh, I'm like I go through cycles where I just ignore it for 3 days and then I'll be back and I'm checking it every hour. And I think
Oh,
some of
that's
it,
so good though. To just, I haven't been able to avoid it. Like, if I were to be able to turn it off for 2 or 3 days, that would be pretty intense for me, I think.
yeah.
Maybe. I might have become addicted to it. I don't know.
Do you go on vacation, like off the grid somewhere? That helps if you physically can't reach the internet.
I
That's
will
like the best
be I
way.
will be going on a cruise in December at some point for like a few days, and I feel like that'll be nice to kind of unplug, but I bought a laptop so that I could continue making levels.
That's okay.
I
So
vacation bad. I vacation
no,
bad.
that's actually really fulfilling. Like if you don't, so if you have those days when it's like you have the ability to work on stuff, but you're totally not expecting to, and you can't connect to the internet. For
Yeah.
some reason, those are the days I get the most done. Like I get everything done over Christmas holidays when I'm like avoiding my family somewhere. Like I prefer working that way without the
Well, I
internet.
think I recently, so when I got this laptop, it's a really awesome like gamer laptop type thing, but it's really small and it fits. It has like the 144 hertz refresh rate, so it was really great. I've never seen Proteus run at that because my monitor isn't,
Hmm.
and so I go out on my balcony with my dog, and the internet doesn't really reach there, so I just sit down and I get latest inside, and then I walk outside, sit down with my coffee, and I just kind of work and chill with my dog outside, and I get a lot done.
I was gonna say that sounds
And it's
so
really
pleasant.
nice.
Yeah,
It's really nice. Well, during the summer it was nice,
yeah.
but as soon as it got cold and rainy, it was not. But yeah, no, that I can't wait to get back into that.
Have you been
Uh,
working a lot lately? Like, what's your day like now? How far are you in Proteus? Tell like
oh man,
we haven't heard about. So Proteus was kickstarted what like months ago, right? Like
yeah,
a year ago.
almost. No, it
No.
was in April, May.
Okay.
I think March. March.
All right.
January, February, March. Yeah, it was March, May ish. There was like a month there. So it's been about like 6 or 7 months, maybe 7 or 8 months. I
Mhm.
don't remember when it ended. But yeah, no, you know what? I've been on a terrible sleeping schedule. I've done like the poor indie thing where like I wake up really late in the afternoon and then I stay up till like 4 in the morning or like, but I get all of this work done because it's just quiet and it's dark outside and nothing's going on. So I just get tons of work done. But yeah, I've been trying to flip it back because I just that's just not good. It's just not good to be living in the dark.
Yeah.
So that's been bothering me. But yeah, I've been getting a ton of work done. I mean, Proteus is going great. We have some big stuff that we're working on right now that I can't talk about, but
How is that
we're super
possible?
excited.
There's like two of you and you're constantly present on the internet. Like, how are you not giving away everything?
Well, I mean, with the Kickstarter money, we were able to contract people to get like a bunch of stuff done. Mike went through recently and blocked out. He did like a blockout for all the weapons in the game, or not all of them, but like the ones that we expect to ship. And once he got them done, we started handing them out to our friends that were helping us out. So we've got a bunch of contracting stuff going on here and there, and like it's going really great. We're trying to get as much done this year as we possibly can. Um, Not only for tax purposes, but like
Oh, you're trying
just
to
to like
spend all the money so you don't have to pay taxes. Yeah.
yeah, we're trying to like get all the money sort of like yeah, I mean as an indie you have to keep in mind that stuff, right? So uh
As
we're doing that.
as anybody, you have to keep in mind that stuff. There's just things I can't say. I have
Well,
sus-
like for you as well, right?
Well,
When you had
no, I mean
to
like I'm pretty well aware of like some of the larger companies work pretty hard to give a lot of money at certain times of the year before the fiscal year ends for the same
yeah.
reason. Like there's a reason why I
I
don't
remember
know,
working
say you made a massive game, like a game that's huge and like what a global phenomenon, and then all of a sudden you found yourself giving away a lot of grants and shit. There might be
yeah.
tax reasons to do that, right?
Oh, that's funny when you
You
think
got
about
like a
that,
lot
isn't
of
it?
revenue one year, you're probably not going to have the next year
All right,
necessarily.
Gwen.
Like there's like no, this shit happens at every level. Like it's
It's
not
true. It's
just
true. No,
yeah.
it's true. It's absolutely true. No, when I was helping out the Blackout Club, Jordan and Steven and them, they were like, "Do you want to bill us for like next year?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess I could bill you guys for like a few weeks, and next year is fine." Um, no, it's great. Yeah, so we're like super deep in it, but like besides just game development stuff, we have a bunch of other announcements that just Mike and I know about
Uh,
that we haven't been telling people. But yeah, we've got just tons of stuff going on. I'm really enjoying still making levels like just on a daily basis. It's like one of the best things. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm super excited about
So
that.
you're in like full production right now. Like you're cranking
Yeah,
every day making levels and stuff.
we've pretty much been like that for a while now. Like I don't like when I wake up, it's like, yep, make a level. Got to make that level and finish that thing
Oh
and
God,
work on. But I've been getting faster and faster at it. Like obviously, like every cycle, you would get faster at making a new level. But uh
jealous,
yeah,
jealous.
at the speed that I'm at right now, I feel like I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like at Payday, we used to have to make a map in a month, but I would have like 6 artists or something, and I would just make the block out and be like, do your thing, and then I'll correct you guys when you do something wrong. And I would just let them feel out the way that they wanted to make a level, and I'd be like, okay, no, this looks good, and I would just adjust things. And then, but for me though, like I have to do the layout, then I got to do the art, and then I got to do the lighting and the gameplay tweaks and everything. So there's more. It feels like more involvement. And I found that working on these types of maps for this type of FPS, you really want to set up your compositions correctly and your lighting and your distances so that everything is really, really readable. In a game like ours, where you've got like pixelated stuff, non-pixelated stuff, I've been really trying hard to balance my lighting and get like the coloring right, so that everything is just readable, and
Do you
that's been a lot of fun.
do you suspect that happened in other games too? It was just not you that was doing it.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, in the past, you said you blocked out the levels, but then an artist handled this. Was that just before that was an artist handling it, now you're handling it, or do you think the actual style of the game makes it so that that's more important?
Um, it's a mix for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a mix. I mean, some cartoony games don't need stuff like that. It just depends on your style, right? Like the more gritty, realistic. Like when you think about Call of Duty, for example, I think one of the things that was big for them was if you can go through a door, it's already open, or the AIs are going to open it for you. So there was like that's a very simple rule that they follow, and it allows the player to know, okay, so like dark alleyway, orange light on the inside of the hallway, you can see that, oh, that's my door that I'm going to go through, and then you can play with player expectations based on that kind of stuff. But uh, I think for a game like ours, it's a little bit more critical because well, I'd say it's about the same in any kind of FPS, but when you're thinking about like the vertical slice, or like not the vertical slice, but when you thin slice a scenario or like a frame of the gameplay when you're running so fast, and you need to, like, for a split second you need to go enemy, 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 doorway, health kit,
Yeah,
that's the way people play the game. They thin slice every five or like whatever frames, in their
yeah.
brain.
You gotta like
um
let your eyes blur and see what pops, and you have to make sure the visual language is very clear for what you're targeting and stuff. That makes sense.
Yeah. So one of the things we did during our Kickstarter was we beefed up like sort of the rim lighting on the characters so that they stuck out if they were farther away, and then when they got closer, the rim lighting kind of goes away. And that was one of the reasons why we did that, was just so that they could pop out easier. And when you were running through an environment that was all dark or whatever, they would just be there, and you wouldn't have to worry about, oh, am I hitting this guy, or can I see this person, or whatever. There's lots of little tricks like that, and it definitely comes down to like the level design as well. If you're just using nothing but noisy textures everywhere, that's not going to be good. It's going to make people get confused, and I don't know. I feel like there's more of an art form on it for this game particularly than I've had in the past. Like I haven't had to worry about noisy amounts of noise in Payday, for example, because it's not hardcore. You
Mm.
would in Counter-Strike, for example, like certain corners of like peekable angles need to be clear
Because
enough that you could see an outline of a person
it's
and
how
things like.
important it is that you can quickly grok the scene, quickly
Yep.
understand the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, certain games, a lot of first person shooters are unique in that there is no UI. The UI is the art. Like the thing you're shooting is the art. And so it's important that like the characters have a rim lighting because that's the thing you're targeting, as opposed to other games might put less emphasis on making sure that the art is as readable, but that's because they lean a lot more heavily on UI, like a strategy game or so forth. Like
Yeah.
Into the Breach is amazing UI art. It's a pixel style game, but it's such a completely different game, and they have to work really hard to make that UI art work. Where they don't have to work as hard to make sure that like the characters stand out because of it. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just saying
Well, I
like
think I think also on that note too is like you didn't really have to worry too much about that with Kind. There was definitely like a bit of that for sure, but like how it's like I've got a grid. You've got to make sure that that grid stands out no matter what.
the
That people
hardest.
don't like not see a grid square on the right side or something like that. So that
Correct.
for
It's very
for you it's a bit
necessary.
different, but
It's
yeah.
a just completely different concerns. It's making sure, absolutely sure that you see the grid, that there's no lines, no high frequency detail that will distract from the grid. That was a huge problem. Like
Yep.
if there's ever junk in the level, it just anything that obscures the grid is a problem. And Z height was a massive problem. Getting
Yep.
people to understand that this is a slightly higher height. Like there's a lot of shader tricks to make it so that
I thought you did a
there's
good job on that too, by the way. I mean, I played through a good like few hours of your game, and I thought like, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, this works.
Yeah. The yeah, a lot of art went into that kind of stuff. But it's just such a completely different yeah, it's just such a completely different mindset versus like I don't know, BioShock Infinite. We worked on that together. Like we definitely with BioShock Infinite there was a lot of focus on composition and lighting, but only not so much for gameplay, more for telling the story, the narrative purposes, selling the
Yep.
the kind of scene. The same thing I'd argue in Death Stranding. is more a lot of focus, an intense amount of focus on composition and on
Well, sure.
music, atmosphere, and so forth,
You can really
and
see like
lighting.
they've picked colors different for like the buildings and the structures are a different color than like the ground, and I mean there's
Yeah.
it's a pretty, I mean when you start like heavily getting deep into this kind of stuff, and it like takes over your day, you start to see and appreciate it more in other games. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, like the current map that I'm working on, there's so many things. It's like, okay, you got to make sure that each room is unique because if the player's backtracking, you want to make sure that they understand that they're oh, I've been through this room, or like this is there's so many little things, and then like changing up the doorways or like the lighting per room, the texture usage, like I said, keeping things clean in certain aspects. I mean, it's just it's a whole new layer of like thought process, like once you're done a layout and the gameplay, and
Mhm.
uh I'm finding it fun to get into that headspace, and it's been a really fun challenge so far, so I'm definitely enjoying it.
I'm jealous of you right now. This is my favorite part of production. Is when you've got like the game design kind of figured out, and it's firming up, and you're just figuring out how to execute. You wake up every day, you know exactly what to do. You're just doing it. You're just grinding it out. Drag this out
Yeah.
for as long as possible. This is the good part.
Well, this is the
God.
well, I do this cycle every map. So I go in and I've been kind of taking maps from start to finish
Hmm.
each time. And the reason I've been doing that is mostly so that I could not only get better at like arting up the maps and like learning what works and what doesn't work. I think that's kind of important because if we wait to the end and I have just like 30 blockouts and I have no idea how I'm going to light things or what looks good or what doesn't look good or what players are enjoying or what they're not enjoying. Like to me, it's like, need to do it like while I go and then
Sure.
get playtesting on that stuff right now and see like, okay, yep, this is not working, cut it like immediately.
So I
Or
think
yeah.
I usually think about it when I'm working games is you have to go deep at first on like a couple of levels for I don't know like what you think is like 5 to 10% of the experience, and then you go
Yeah.
wide to figure out the scope of the game.
Yep.
So and then it just becomes a matter of ricocheting back and forth, going deep on more levels, and then making sure you've gone as wide as you're gonna go. Because like at some
Yeah.
point you do need to not you don't need to black out all the levels well, but make sure that you have enough variety of content to make the entire game and figure out what is the amount of game you're making. I don't know how
Yep.
necessary that is for shooters because you can kind
No,
of
it
just
is. What you described is exactly how I've been kind of doing it. Like there was a period where I just went and did a bunch of blockouts and then I came back and did this, and then it was like, yep, I'm gonna finish the art for this so I can get some more testing on a different type of level, and you
mm,
know, then you kind of ping back and forth between, okay, so now when I'm done with this, I'm gonna go back and do a bunch more blockouts because I'll have like a firmer grip on a different style or something like that. So for
yeah.
me, it is that ping back and forth, and you go deep dive on one. Like for example, last month, after we got back from PAX, I took one of the guys that's contracting for us doing levels. I took one of his levels and did the like 10% polish pass or whatever, and it took me like two weeks. And so like when you do the 10% polish pass, I found that really interesting to do and get to a certain point, and it really made quite a big difference. But I thought that was
Ten
a
percent.
very interesting path.
What do you mean by 10% polish pass?
You know how like you can get a level to like 90%,
Ah, yeah.
or like it's like the
80 the 80
10%.
20 rule. Yeah.
Yeah, the 80/20. Well, for us I guess it's like a little bit about the same. Yeah, 90/10. Yeah, it was 80/20 basically. But yeah, the like I wanted to do that on one other level and just see like, okay, well, how far do we need to take this and that, and so yeah, I've just been kind of bouncing back between a bunch of stuff, but I don't know, I love doing it. I've been finding it to be a lot of fun, and I'm definitely getting a lot faster. So I'm enjoying that right now, and I'm hoping that we just keep up this pace. It's gonna be good.
Nice. Do you have an idea? So if you've done max depth on a level and you've gone kind of wide, like you have an idea of how many maps you need and how
Yep.
to get the experience you're going for. So at this point, Do you have like a rough idea of when you're shipping and stuff, or like how long you'll be in production before you hit the closeout phase?
Yeah, I mean, our last announcement just before Doom Eternal announced that they were pushing back. So we said that we're shooting for February, and we're still shooting for February. We got a lot of stuff going on, but we got some big stuff
When is
that
Doom
we're
Eternal
working on.
coming out?
It was literally going to come out like 3 weeks after we announced early access or something like that. So it was like, oh,
Oh,
cool.
whatever.
I think it's in
It's good to
January,
be
February,
the.
March. I think it's in March. I think it's in March.
It'll be fun if like if that game pancakes, then
No.
or if like people finish it and they're bored and they want more like it, or
That's
generally,
that's the idea, right? I mean, but
yeah,
I'm kind of like, look, I'm gonna enjoy the crap out of Doom Eternal. I know it's gonna be amazing. It's
yeah,
gonna be so good. I feel like the only thing that I would be concerned about, I guess, would be if they all of a sudden release like a level editor that was better than Snap Map. So like they did Snap Map, uh, and that was mostly for console people, I think. But yeah, I guess if they were to release like a full blown editor that you could make whatever maps you wanted, that would probably eat away at like our stuff as well. I don't
yeah.
know. It's so hard to say because like honestly, I don't think that we're in the same league. Like they're AAA, we're still indie. I mean, we sort of occupy a similar space, but at the end of the day, like they are just like people know about Doom Eternal. They don't know about our game. So I feel like we have different things going on. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Nah, yeah, it's difficult. Like this could create a renaissance where people are really interested in this. This could like there's a million different ways it could go.
Yeah, it could
So
also go,
it's hard to.
why would I get that when I can get this? It's like
Mhm.
I don't know. It's interesting. So
I
we'll
like
have
your
to see
launch
how it
window.
goes.
February sounds like a good time to launch too. Though that does mean you're probably going to be like crunching over Christmas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to take a small vacation and kind of just like maybe I could like reboot my brain a little bit.
Mhm.
So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I think we'll be fine.
All
I
right.
think we'll be
I
fine.
could. Last time we spoke on the podcast, you were debating coming out on console. Are you still thinking about it, or?
Oh no, no, no. We weren't debating. We knew that we were.
Oh,
We
okay.
knew that we were. Yeah. And we're gonna do. I believe we're working on some stuff right now to do localization for like a bunch of countries. So that'll be good as well.
E-figs,
Yeah, the standard, but then we got a few more in there as well.
Portuguese.
It's funny. I was like, oh, I should do Swedish because all my Swedish friends. But then I messaged them like while we were talking about it, and they were like, nah. They're like,
Yeah.
everybody knows English. Don't do it.
Same thing with Dutch. They're like, "This is why did you do this? Just don't."
hmm
They're like, "Oh, come on." Even the
They're
people
like, don't worry
who,
about it.
because they're all bilingual. Whereas
I would
like
do Japanese, and I
Korean
wonder
and
if we
Chinese.
did. I wonder if we, yeah, definitely Korean. I don't know if we did because like we have a lot of Japanese followers,
Mhm.
which is super random. But yeah, we definitely wanted to do Japanese, and I don't know if we did. I would have loved to do Chinese, but there's only one reason to do Chinese if you know you're gonna go for that market.
I don't know.
Um,
I know a lot of people. Some people have a significant amount of success releasing on Steam, and there's like a gray market in China where
right,
people get around the firewall. And
right.
if you localize your page and your game to Chinese, I mean, I think the big conversation is not whether you should do Chinese. It's actually arguably like a no-brainer. It's up there with eFigs, really.
Okay.
But the question is, do you go traditional or what's the other one?
Oh, right. Like the
Simplified.
shorthand or the classic?
Yeah, like because historically, I did simplified for Kine, and
Mm-hmm.
simplified is the usual default if you do one, but traditional is rising in popularity. So
Interesting.
there's an
That's
argument.
unfortunate too, because they have so many more characters.
Yeah, yeah. The real reason not to do Chinese is because it's a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's just like a lot. Uh, though usually it doesn't mess up your UI because it's very efficient as a language. It just doesn't take up that
Oh,
much
really?
space.
Okay.
I mean, you have to have all the characters, but like German will take up like twice as your German strings will be twice as long as your English
Yeah.
strings.
Yeah,
So you have
yeah,
to worry
yeah.
about that
I heard that the capital W was like the biggest letter that we've got.
in English.
Yeah, so like just spamming that for like 30 characters or something will help you figure out like how bad your UI actually is or something.
Okay. I
Mm,
haven't thought about it, but I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the real issue isn't the number of characters. It's just the that the strings are so much longer in other languages. That saying something simple that's like this much text in English could be like this much text in German. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
twice
I
as
was
long.
surprised how much text Kine actually had. I didn't know that you were gonna have like story bits everywhere because I hadn't
Yeah.
played it in such a long time.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
I
that.
also I really enjoyed. I will say this, because when I tested it like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or whatever it was, when I tested it while I was in Sweden, you mostly had just solo puzzles. And I was pleasantly surprised and happy to find out that most of the puzzles are actually duets or have a combination. And I really enjoyed that quite a lot. I had a good
Okay.
time with that. As soon as I started doing the duets, I was like, "Oh, this feels great," because it's mostly just like good flow movement versus like it wasn't. Some of them were like good mixed in puzzles, like the earlier ones at least that I played. And then like it was just good flow, and then you had to figure your way around that flow in like an interesting way. And I enjoyed those quite a lot. I think it was the calendar one, and there was one with like some radio bits, and I thought that was really fun.
So the two with Quat and Rue.
Yeah, there was
The
another one too with like a, I think it was a side mission one where you had to like push a calendar, like there was like a date or like a piece of
yeah
paper or something that you had to get to.
yeah they're like pushing around on a calendar.
Yeah, well, no, it
Yeah.
was the, maybe it was the later version of that. You had to like do something and then you had to push somebody under like a bunch of cabinets, and like I had such a hard time with some of those for some reason. But yeah, those were, it was fun. I had a good time. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think like there's a lot of things I wouldn't say I regret, but like I learned a lot, right? Like I think the better puzzles are the ones in the middle of the game, like the duets.
Sure.
But people have to get there, and a lot of people, I think the game was just way too hard for a certain group of people. Like the how do I put it? Uh, but you I like games that are hard, right? But there's games that are hard that are like in Super Meat Boy or something like that, right? If
Hmm.
every time you die or you mess up, you feel yourself getting better each time.
Yeah,
Whereas with a puzzle game, you
because
don't.
you're learning the flow. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. With a puzzle game, you don't really feel yourself getting better. You either get the puzzle or you don't. And like if you don't get the puzzle, you kind of
you do
you,
get a little
you
frustrated.
get frustrated, you bounce off. And so I think
Yeah,
and there's different ways around this. I think that's why people who play puzzle games, like it's a genre that people like to play a little bit and then go off and do something else when they're stuck and then come back. You know what I mean?
sure. My wife and I
Whereas,
did that for the witness. We would switch off back and forth. Like she was super deep into it with me, and we were playing, and there was just one puzzle that like I couldn't do, so I just passed out, and then after an hour she was able to solve it. And it was like it was such a
Jesus,
hard puzzle, and neither of us could get it, and then eventually she got it, and we were like, "Oh, thank God. Now we can finally continue on this
yeah,
swamp area with like different colored like underground sections." I don't know. It was a lot of fun though.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I would say The Witness is different in my opinion because the that one. So if you're playing a pure or a puzzler like one of Alan Hazelden's games, you're usually playing it on a phone. If you get stuck, you kind of like put down your phone and walk away. Whereas The
mhm.
Witness, you do that, but you do it within the game, right? Like if you get stuck in a puzzle, you can always
Yeah,
just back up, and you're in this beautiful
that's what I
world.
meant. Yeah,
You can
I
walk
love that part. I
around.
love that.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely a really clever way to get around it. I think that's necessary, right? Like if you want to if you want to take because like I don't think a pure puzzler that where you just do puzzle, and if you get stuck, maybe you can go do another puzzle. Uh, but if you don't have that world to walk around in, you're most likely just going to put down the Switch or the phone or whatever you're playing on,
Hmm.
and you're just going to
But you
walk
had that
away.
kind of built into your menus just a little bit. You could like back out and then go try a different set of puzzles, which I thought that was pretty nice.
Not
Because
many.
like I got to choose my own adventure. It felt like
Yeah,
almost,
it is
and I
true.
like that. I
There
thought that was good.
was I like it. It was I thought it was good. I thought a better solution. Like the witness is a better solution for that, right? Like it's so that people don't want to admit that they've lost, like or that they're stuck or that they're frustrated, and so you want as little friction as possible to get out and go do something else. Like you
Sure.
want to, and with the witness, you could literally like step back and see another puzzle like right over there and just go do that, right?
Yeah. Well,
Which I
they
thought
had
was
these like
better.
secondary sub puzzles built into the environment. So like if you were like frustrated, you turn around, you're like, "Oh, hey, it's another squiggle line." And
Yeah,
you're just they had a lot of like good pacing and like, "Oh, there's a shadow puzzle," or "Oh, there's a, it was good." I liked it. I kind of so I made a puzzle thing for Portal 2 back or Portal 1 back in the day. It was like a grid-based it was a grid-based puzzle game where you had to shoot. It was like a 5x5 grid and you had to like blot out colors and then the grid would turn over and then flip back and then there'd be like another puzzle there. And that was a lot of fun. I remember working on that, but then in order to change the pacing, I had a thing where like you would solve like two puzzles and then a story moment would happen and you would leave the grid and then go back up and then there'd be like some things that you had to get or like an upgrade, and when you came back the grid could change and it was like all animated and stuff. And I just remember having so much fun making these little puzzle bits, but then you also were like, I don't want to stare at this grid for too long. You want to go away, you want to do something, you want to come back, and
hmm
just having story moments like something could literally fly in and hit the grid or get stuck, and then it was like, oh, let me fix that and let me help this, and I had all these little things planned for it, but I never executed on most of that. But there was like I made like a small thing. It was while I was at Irrational too, I think. But yeah, I just love making like puzzle stuff is will always have like a special place in my heart. And that's why I think I loved Kind so much. It was just so much fun, and
yeah,
all the characters doing their duets and stuff. I had uh yeah, I'll have to show it to you at some point.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I love that
I
stuff.
like well they're really fun to make is the one thing. And I think you'll always hit a narrower audience in general for something like that because it'll either be it's going to be too hard for some people, or you make it easy and then it's too easy for other people, and then you can make up for that by making it beautiful or by making it narrative. Like uh Gris is beautiful. Like a lot of
Hmm.
the puzzles aren't that complicated or difficult, but they're beautiful, right? Or you get
Yeah.
like Thomas Was Alone, where the narrative kind of drags you through, and it's kind of like okay that it's a little bit easier. Whereas I think puzzle games you tend to hit a narrower band of like if you want to make it a difficult one, you're going to hit a much narrower band of people.
Yeah.
I think like in a way, but they're fun because a kind of pure puzzler. What I mean by that is like a game that's like where there's one solution
Yeah.
and you're guiding someone to kind of like find that solution in a way that's it's like a conversation. It's like you're
Yeah.
trying to get them to realize something, and
And
if
you wore
they
that on your shoulder during your game as well, which I thought was really fun. Like for example, sorry to cut you off, but
no, it's
like for
okay.
example, during like I think it was the calendar levels, you're very cheeky about your like one character saying what you think the player might be saying, which is like these are all the same, and then like the other, and then Rue's like, no, trust me, it's different. You'll have a lot of fun doing this, or like, and there was like moments like that where I was just like, this is so cheeky, I love it, like where you're just basically like having a conversation with the player at what you thought was like the moment that they would be saying that in their own head, and I thought that was great. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, and the
Um,
player was right. The same puzzle repeats twice.
yeah, no, I thought it was great.
That was fun. Yeah, I had a great time making it. I had a great time. Just I loved making Kind. That was really fun. I think
Yeah.
I will say it is going to be financially successful because of the business deals I got. But
Oh, nice.
the reality is like puzzle games don't make as much money. How do I put it? That puzzle you can make a really good living making puzzle games, but you shit. I'm trying to think of what I can say.
I
Uh,
feel. I mean, I
yeah,
understand what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Like I spent without paying myself, I spent about 400,000 just over $400,000 on COD.
What? Really?
Well, I mean, a lot of it was porting to Stadia for one thing, and porting to all the different
No
consoles.
way.
That was like a big part of the budget. That
So
was,
console porting for you was the most expensive.
yeah, I can't give a number, but it
I
was
mean, it's under
it
400,000,
was
but
it's under 400,000. Yeah, yeah,
wow.
it was north of. It was a six-figure budget to port.
You
Well,
literally just
the
made me
port
start
the
sweating.
port
Like, I'm
to
not even
it was
kidding.
Stadia. It was Stadia. The port to Stadia was expensive. The port to
You,
Stadia was
wow,
probably
okay,
well.
well,
It was like not. It's not trivial to port to Stadia.
maybe chill on that for just a little bit. Yeah,
Anyway,
maybe
yeah.
don't go down that road.
Well, it's better now. The engine's been like the Unreal Engine's been ported and stuff. Uh, New technology is always going to be more expensive, but there's a cost benefit analysis. Like, so
Yeah, I
it
mean,
might
being
cost
early
a
on, being an early
yeah.
adopter can definitely help,
It
I
can.
would say.
It's like a lottery ticket, right? Like maybe you
Sure,
spend a lot of money to port to the PS5, but you're one of 20 titles in the PS5, or I don't know,
sure,
hypothetically 26 titles on Stadia, right? Like
right.
being one of the few titles in that means that if a lot of people buy Stadia, there's only so many games they can buy, and if like
It's true.
you're
It's true.
so it's a lottery ticket, you know.
Were you a
Um,
part of the Apple Arcade?
no, I was not. No,
Okay.
I
For some reason I
tried.
thought- Okay.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't.
No,
I
I
called
thought that
them
the way you approached most of that stuff was pretty good.
hustling real hard because I wasn't convinced I could make my money back. Yes, that would be exactly what I what I did real hard. Well, because I love making puzzle games, but you know, single player like
I think you should do whatever the heck you want. Honestly, I think it's great.
yeah.
Like it's interesting because like I was thinking about your approach versus like the way that we're making our approach, and they could not be the same approach. They just couldn't.
No, and
Um,
I'm
and they wouldn't work.
no,
And
it's
and I
why
just
I'm thinking about doing your approach for the next game because I'm thinking about doing something very different. So that's why I'm like trying to. I want to talk
oh.
to you more. I want to see how this goes.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah, the Stadia stuff too, and yeah, wow.
yeah.
I wonder. Okay, so a part of me wonders if we had, let's just say we had $500,000
Uh-huh.
to do whatever we wanted. I wonder where we would be right now. That's my
Hmm.
that'd be like an interesting thought because we've talked about this before. Like when I was on like a few months ago or whatever,
Should you
we were
get
talking.
like a publisher? Was what we were
Yeah,
talking
you
about.
would you would need a publisher to like or somebody to donate that money or
Hmm.
to put that money forward. But no, because we only had the Kickstarter money, which was around 100,000 at the end for us, and we've been kind of conservative about where we spend it and how we're spending it. Like specifically, it's basically only gone to like hero props and levels,
Hmm.
and materials, things like content, like specific content. We haven't done any like programmer or language stuff yet. We had been diving into that, but no, I find it interesting because like you said, 400,000 was spent on the game, and that's crazy for me to think about that because like yeah, I don't know.
I
It's interesting,
I
Gwen.
didn't
That's
spend that money
interesting.
until I knew I had that money. Is the other thing. Like
Sure.
I was
Yeah.
gonna spend
Yeah.
$0. Like let's be fair. And then once I I can't break NDA, but like
No. Well, don't. Yeah.
yeah, I got the money to do the things I wanted to do, and so forth.
Yeah. I
But
think I think that's very
yeah.
interesting, and I mean, yeah. I mean, I suppose. Do you have a breakdown that is like art or like content versus like not content? Like,
Mm,
you know what I mean? Like, so
sure.
yeah,
Content total
or
every
percentages or something. Like, you
yeah,
could say 20% was this or something.
sure. So content, everything that's not me. So I did, the design, the programming, a large amount of the art, but I still hired some environment artists in the UK. Also, I hired a musician to make an original soundtrack.
Yep.
Um, what else did I put into art? Like, there's some odds and ends here and there where I bought some things, but for the most part, that came to the content for the game, 200,000 to make the game.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
That I could see. I suppose I could see that because if we just kept paying people and we just didn't stop, and we're just like content, content, content.
Mhm.
I suppose. I think the thing that we've got going for us is the level editor that allows us to just reuse the same things, but like add a color. Like
Mhm.
now it's a purple facility versus a blue facility or whatever.
Yeah.
That helps us stretch our content more.
Yeah.
Um,
The other things are the like localization. You mentioned there was a lot of text. Localization and QA together came to about, I'm trying to remember, I think it was 35,000. Just you underestimate how much that shit. Like how many people I translated into 8 languages.
you
Um
also had a lot of text.
and yeah. So
We
that was
we've
a
we've
chunk.
basically most of our text is the level editor, I would say,
Yeah.
and I feel like a smart person could literally just open up 3ds Max and then swap out the different languages and go, oh yeah, connect or vertice. Okay, let me just yeah, they could just like fill out like a chart. That
Yeah.
probably won't work, but yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
don't
that's
know. You guys I'm trying to remember what you're building a level editor and stuff, but you're building it all in Unity, right?
yeah. So Mike generally works in Unity when he's coding stuff and working on stuff, but I work inside the game, like the actual game,
Uh-huh.
because he built the level editor, and then I
You
work
use level editor.
inside the game
Yeah.
using the level editor. Uh,
Yeah, I dig it. So, yeah, I don't know how localization works for you. For the Unreal Engine, it's uh, every string is tagged to be localized.
mm-hmm.
Like you say, by default, it's tagged that it will be localized, and you say, "No, I don't localize this," on certain things, and it works.
Interesting.
It works really well. I did basically no work on the tech side in order to
Oh
get
wow,
localization to
lucky.
work. But downside of this is it puts all of the strings randomly
Oh
in
really?
alphabetical order, right? And so you get
Oh,
this, you're giving somebody an Excel spreadsheet that has each line in alphabetical order, but a lot of lines rely on something else. Like, say somebody says, "Hey, what are you doing?" Those are like 2 different lines in
mm-hmm.
kind. And so there's loads of times when I had to go back in where lines just didn't work out.
Oh, that's weird.
Or things like we accidentally, like, we didn't, they're little machines, they don't have like gender. And so, like, Rue, some people translated her with like female pronouns and some with like
Mm.
male pronouns. And I never like gave direction on that but to the localization team, so I had to completely redo Japanese.
Huh.
uh there was just a lot of shit like that.
That's interesting. I think we're gonna get hit by that a little bit because we don't have Mike's hard coded, unfortunately, a bunch of stuff because he was doing it really quick just to get it done.
Uh-huh.
So he's gonna have to go back, or someone's gonna have to go back and pull all that stuff out and put it somewhere. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's the
I'm not looking forward
yeah,
to that.
Godspeed, man. Well, I mean, the other thing is you could always just like, are you going to localize at launch?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure for early access we'll have a bunch of languages.
Okay.
I don't know how many though. We'll see. We'll see.
Hmm.
We'll see. I don't know.
The combinatorics of localization plus console is the other thing. You
Hmm.
end up having to go back and localizing again after you do your updates for your console, because the console will add a bunch of like dialog boxes for when you disconnect, or they've just, you add a lot
They
of.
haven't localized all that stuff like already.
No, 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 no. You do that.
Okay. Oh, I thought those were like standard definition boxes by Nintendo.
There are something for there are some things. There's just certain things that you do yourself. Like on Xbox, you have to say who the user is and give the ability to switch users on your main menu screen. So you're probably going to need something that says username and switch user. And no, there is no
Ugh.
guidance for that. There's guidance for things like what you call the buttons on the gamepad,
When
right?
we need to jump off this subject, it's
So I don't mean to. Sorry,
it's
sorry.
giving
No,
me
never mind.
it's giving me
Never
nervous
mind.
reactions right now.
Never mind. Stay in the happy place, the place where you're making the levels. That's such a better place. My God. So just drag that out. Just never ship. Just be in this place
I'll tell you
forever.
what. I want to jump over to VR talk real quick.
Okay. All right. Let's talk
Um,
VR. Because you said you're
so
way into it. Was it Alex that got you into it?
Alex.
The Valve game. Never mind.
Oh, well, yes. Oh, after that was announced, I kind of picked up my headset again. I had been wanting to play this game called Pistol Whip or Pistol. Is it Pistol Whip? Pistol
Pistol Whip
Grip.
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought that, but I haven't played it yet. But there's this game that I always go back to called Pavlov, and it's essentially like here's Counter Strike, and you can like load the weapons, you can take the clips out, and, cock the guns and everything. It's fun, and then it's just a really really heavy community style game. So they have a Steam Workshop, and you can download custom maps. So what happens is the game is made in Unreal, so people can import whatever maps from any other game basically and just make them run, and then you can play them. So like we played Halo Blood Gulch. You would play
Halo wasn't made
uh
in Unreal.
what was that?
How are they importing Halo into Unreal?
So you know how like people in the modding this is another thing that like speaks to me on like a whole different level that I've been really enjoying recently too, is that it's a very much a modders community where somebody will go through. There's a website called like model. Oh man, I was on it the other day. Let me just type in modelresources.com, and they have stuff from like all the different consoles, like PS4 or like, I mean, PS1, there's GameCube, there's like a bunch of other stuff. And people go in and they basically decompile the games and get the models from the games. So like Mario Sunshine, they'll have like a bunch of the levels in model form that you can then plop into Blender and place materials on them. And then from there, you can just export that and import it into Unreal and then change up some things and add a game mode in there. And then you're playing Counter-Strike weapons inside Mario Sunshine's like first level, and you're running around and just doing whatever. And that to me is just such a fun. It's so weird to explore these older levels that like from different games in VR, and it's just like such a weird experience. But yeah, like I've been really really enjoying that. There's so many like things that people just love to just jump into. Um, but yeah, so there's that. And the fact that it's an Unreal makes it really easy to do. But the thing that I was telling you about was a game mode, and it's an old game mode now, but it's called Trouble in Terrorist Town. And essentially it plays out like if you have a lobby of like 10 people, it randomly picks like 3 of them to be terrorists, and nobody gets to see it except for the terrorists get to see who the other terrorists are. And then one person is like the deputy, and they get to scan 2 people maximum. There's like a charge thing. They go boom, and it says civilian or terrorists, and you get 2 charges. And it's a really crazy party game. But like when you're playing in VR, there's just like this whole other strategy to it, because you can like, you can now move, and you're basically standing there with like a group of people in the middle of town, and everyone's trying to figure out who the terrorist is, and you're talking to them
Let's
like
stop for
they're
a second.
standing there with you.
'Cause I don't have this in my head. So it's a group of people not physically together, but like other people playing in VR headsets over the internet, or you're all in a
It's
room.
all VR, and
Okay, so everybody's got their own VR headset in their own house, and they're projected into this 3D space that's shared, I'm guessing.
yeah, you're
Okay.
you're basically joined a server. It's
Okay.
like a small town that somebody built, and you go in there, and the game mode is essentially
It's like
it.
werewolf, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's so much fun because you're trying to convince other people that like somebody else is the terrorist, and because you can see their movements, it's so much more intense because you can see if somebody's pointing their gun at you, and it gets you. You're like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you doing? Put your gun down. Put your gun, and like it feels like a whole nother experience because you can actually see what they're doing, and you can like I've been enjoying it so much recently because there's a whole meta to it where like to figure out who a terrorist is, or to like be a terrorist and to convince somebody that you're a good guy, and like all this other stuff. I've been having so much fun, and I've it turns out that I'm actually really good at playing it, and, and like
We tend to
that's
like the
also
things
kind
we're
of
good at.
scary.
That's crazy. So does the community of people that play this game specifically is large enough to support like multiplayer? Because it sounds like you need at
For
least 10
sure.
people to play this game, right?
Yeah, no, lobbies fill up pretty quick
Okay.
actually. There's a few game, well, specifically this is a game mode inside of Pavlov. So it's kind of like in Counter-Strike when people used to do gun game or
It's like Dota and Warcraft back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. And it's so much fun and just like I don't know. I love it. It's
You
just
know
like
this.
what's that guy doing over there? What's that guy doing over there?
All right.
Everybody like go look, you know.
Drop
And
Proteus. Go make this immediately. You know VR is coming back. Valve is gonna drop Alex, and like everybody's buying the new whatever VR thing. They're gonna play that game. It'll be fun, I'm sure. But then they'll be done
oh
with it, and they're gonna have the headset.
I
I
feel like it would be so wild to play this with a bunch of people you know because so most of the
You
time I
can do
play
this
with
in real
randoms.
life, right? Isn't this werewolf that you're describing? Like you can literally play a party game in real life with people, right?
Yeah, sure, you could do it like sitting across from somebody, but there's another level of like not 100% knowing what their facial expressions are or things like that that kind of add to it. It's sort
Okay.
of like when that Spy Party game came out and you were supposed to pretend like you were an AI to try and like finish the mission and
Uh-huh.
there's like a guy sniping at you or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it sort of feels like that as well. There's like a bunch of elements and no, it's just really it's really intense. So like for example, but when you play with a friend, there's a different level because you trust your friend in real life, but you can't trust him when you join the game.
Hmm.
But there's like a meta level of trust, and to get over that, so like
I don't trust you. I
yeah,
you
no,
invited me to play
great.
this game, and I'm like, Mojica, I don't trust you at all, man. You've already said you're good at this game, and that means you're a liar. And
One of my
frankly,
friends did that. I was the detective and he was a terrorist. And obviously, I don't know that he's a terrorist, but he knows I'm the detective because you changed to like a detective outfit or whatever.
mm,
And he goes, "Hey, dude, come over here and scan me. Like, let me know. Like, it says you're a terrorist or a civilian." And I was like, "Great, cool. Yeah, let me scan you." And I scanned him, and it just says terrorists. And I look up, and he just goes blah 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 blah, and like kills me right away. And
what a jerk.
it's such a it's
Okay.
such a it's so funny. I don't know. The hysterics that happen, like, because you can't trust somebody. He's like he plays with that too. Like he like I don't know. He'll chase me even though we're both innocent. And he'll like chase me and like freak me out. I don't know. It's good stuff. I
Damn.
really enjoy it. I
All
really
right.
enjoy it. We gotta play
Mojica's
it though.
okay. I gotta dig out my VR headset. If I packed it away, I don't even know where the shit is. Steam, you set up Steam VR once on Steam, and it launches every time I open Steam now, even though haven't had a headset plugged in years.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah.
The same thing happens with my Unreal. Anytime I open Unreal and I've got my headset plugged in, it'll
Mm.
it'll
Open
open
up
up
Steam
in
VR.
VR mode.
Yep. Yeah. I'm in that
Which,
same boat. So I feel like I should probably figure out where my Vive is. I haven't
yeah.
had it since like I was working on a Vive game like 4 years ago.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the crazy thing is now there's so many new headsets coming out. My buddy, we were both using Vives, and then he bought an Oculus S, which
Mm.
doesn't have towers. It just uses the headset to track the hands.
Hmm.
And he said that it's really great. Like the display is really great. There's no more screen door effect.
They get
And I've been
better.
thinking about
The Quest looks good.
the
They
Quest.
say the Quest crushes everything. Yeah.
Oh, really? Is that like the mobile one
Yeah,
where it
you can
uses the
like
phone?
leave. Well, you can leave. It's wireless, I think is the deal. I'm outside of this, to be honest. I like forgot. I didn't forget VR was a thing. I was just like, well, there was a lot of people doing VR stuff, and now I guess that didn't light the world on fire, and now it's over. Goodbye. Like, and then
Yeah.
years passed, and I assumed nothing's happened. And then I went to Reboot, like a couple months back, and like half the people there were working in VR, and everyone's like, "No, Gwen,
Oh
you don't know
wow.
what's coming. You don't know what's coming." It's like, all right, because I think
I
I'm the
really
only one that
enjoy it
didn't
though. I
know.
mean, working in VR is way different than just the standard stuff. I love just making something and then seeing it happen in front of me. Uh,
Yeah.
it feels really strange. Like I've never gotten a rush like making a battery that you plug into a thing and then having it turn on in front of you is like I was like, whoa, this is way different than just making a button that I press in a
How
game.
much of that is that it's new though? You'll get used to that. Like
I
we
don't
had that
know.
rush when we were kids, starting out with
Every
this
time I
stuff.
make something new in VR, it feels great. Like I did that I made like a Inspector Gadget hand thing where you could like extend your hand like an infinite number of times and like curl it around and stuff and I was like this is a lot of fun. Like I don't know there's just something fresh. Like you obviously you just making a button like every
Yeah.
time would be annoying. But like the things that are like uniquely VR are always very interesting and very fun to mess with.
All right. We should end on some hot take. Give me a hot take about VR.
Hot take about VR,
Yeah.
it's coming back.
It's coming, but
It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be super hot.
super hot. Super hot's already on VR. That's already happened, Mojica.
Mm.
Your take is old.
VR is gonna be the new hotness.
The new
It's gonna be
hotness. It's
amazing. I think
potential.
people are gonna pick it up again once Alex comes out. I think a lot of people are gonna jump back on it. They're gonna get a lot of new people injected into that. I heard a rumor that like the index basically got sold out recently
I'm sure
because of
they
that.
would.
Like after the announcement.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. They would promote that. I'm not sure. I mean, the timing of these things right before Black Friday is very intentional, right? Like they. So it doesn't surprise me. Like the maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
I
feel
don't know.
like
That's
they
my
would
hot take
brag
though.
about that. If they were a public company, they would brag about being sold out about that.
Yeah,
Maybe
for
because
sure.
if they're a private company, that's the only reason I hesitate. Like maybe they did sell out and they're quiet about it.
I don't know. Well, they just got a Twitter account, right? Or they just started using
They've
it. Like the
changed their
first tweet
yeah.
was, I mean,
They had a Twitter account that they never used. They and
that's
it
so
was like
crazy,
stupid. So they deleted it.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like they're starting to do PR the right way, though. Like they've been so far behind. I feel like there was a culture there that was afraid, or like they've basically internally, it was always like, don't talk to people because then people get upset. And then when you have the internet mad at you, it's always a bad thing. But I feel like if you're
This
doing it right, you're not making the internet mad at you. You're
yeah.
you're talking with them and you're getting them on your side more or less. Like you, if they understand your situation, that's different for Valve, obviously. But
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind they have two different communities they have to manage too. Like they
yep,
have to manage the community of, and community management is already a massive drag on your resources and time. And Valve is not a massive company, so
yeah,
they've already said they don't manage their like consumer community, the people who buy games.
yeah,
They don't want to be the middleman managing every developer's community. Like having to
yeah,
get involved themselves would suck, and also they have to like make developers aware of what they're doing, and it's every time the people try to read the tea leaves about what Steam is doing and like
yeah.
read way too much into what people say anyways as far as Valve goes. Like I don't envy their position. I can understand why they'd be
I
like,
don't
you know
either.
what, nothing. Like
But I mean, for
I could
like a
see
long
it.
time, it was community driven, and they were happy to like let the community be the community news.
But
They
they
would
don't. There's an intelligence to that, to not involving yourself, to like
sure.
not being the one that curates the community, because as soon
And
as you
honestly, up until recently, like every time they've made a change that's really made people upset, I don't know. It's smart by them because they have games that have really hardcore audiences, and like some of the changes that they're doing, like recently for CS:GO, they've added like character skins, which really messes up with the readability, and they're taking flack for that now. And I
on
don't know. There's
the
just a whole bunch of like interesting things. I don't envy their position at
no,
all, for
on the
sure.
other hand, they're very active. Like the team that does Dota 2 is extremely active on their Dota 2 subreddit, like extremely active. And they
Yeah,
just completely redid Dota 2. They basically did a patch that just changed the entire meta game,
yeah. It's
which
pretty
was
it's pretty intense.
we could have a whole conversation about how like this is why esports can't take people who buy football teams won't buy esports teams because they don't trust that the game won't change. And then Valve is
Right.
like, yeah, you're right. Just change the whole game.
It's yeah,
Just
it's
like
a that's another interesting topic
for another day because
for
we
the
do.
next
It has been over an hour, but and
Has
thank
it
you.
really already been over
Yeah,
an
I know,
hour?
I know. So I'm gonna end the podcast. We can keep hanging out on Twitch. But thanks for
Sure.
chatting with me.
Yeah. Thanks, Gwen. That was fun being inside the box again.
It's
It's always
good.
good to be inside the box.
It's fun in the box. All
Yeah.
right. This has been Gwen Frey and Jason Mojica, and you've been in the dialogue box.
Bye, everybody.
And that's where I'll cut it. Now we can hang out with the chat. If anybody's here, nobody's been.
Yeah, what's up? Hey,
Oh,
chat. Hey,
you know, my
chat.
Twitch froze, so I have to reboot it. Have people been talking on chat at all?
I don't know. I rebooted it recently. There was one person that mentioned something like a while ago, but not a whole lot.
All right, cool.
Oh, no chat. Yeah. Hey,
Okay.
question to you. Have
Yeah.
you been what games have you been playing recently now that you've got time?
Uh-huh.
What have you been up to?
Well, I started out like I think I some of it was for work. Like I tried to get really into a lot of tactics games. I started doing that, and I was kind of like,
Hmm.
you get like a funk at the end of a project. And
Yeah.
I'll admit, like I was in a kind of like a funk. I was in a funk for like a while there, and what pulled me out was Disco Elysian.
Was what?
Disco Elysian.
Oh
Oh my
man.
god, is that game funny? Like, holy fuck, is that game funny? That game is so funny. It's funny mechanically, is the thing, too.
Oh
Like, this
really?
is what I've always
Oh,
wanted a
nice.
game to be. It's like a tabletop game. It feels
Hmm.
like I'm playing a tabletop game, but it's
That's
definitely
interesting.
a digital game.
Is there a
Definitely.
lot of dialogue in that? I
Oh,
feel like my
yeah,
brain
it's
can't handle a ton of
mostly.
dialogue.
I don't. See, like, I do. I don't like reading dialogue in a lot of games, but I do like a good narrative. Um, This is a game that is almost entirely reading. I will tell you that, but it's
Okay.
still good.
My
Like
ADHD brain might not be able to handle it. It does look amazing though.
it is.
Shout outs to Crowbar
Yeah.
Scott in chat. Hey man, how's it going?
Like I wish I could. God, I wish I could like. Because I don't like reading usually either, and I will say the one of the. I think a lot about strategy and tactics games and how to put in narrative and stuff because it is
Yeah.
like I happen to like these two things, and it is definitely true. I've been specifically looking at roguelikes with narrative, and it's usually a bad idea. like I don't want to shit on any specific game, but I can pick out certain games where I'm like, wow, this game would have been better without all the text.
Hmm.
You know. And I don't think like adding text to Slay the Spire is probably not ideal. Adding text to a lot of the roguelike games, I don't think is a good idea. Where else is gonna go with that? But yeah, games I've been playing, Disco Elysian, I just adored that game. That was probably my favorite one recently.
How long did you play it? Did you finish it or?
Yeah, that one took like 26 hours or so, I think.
Oof.
I got into Outer Worlds. I got really into space still for a while.
Oh, Outer Worlds. I watched a what was the thing that I watched? I watched a like an 8 minute playthrough where the guy like speed ran the game and I was like, oh, those environments look really nice. I was like, that's really cool. I
You
haven't
love
played
visual
that.
novels?
I played a bit of Norman Reedus
That is a
or Death Stranding. I played some Death
Oh yeah,
Stranding.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been
Uh,
my the way I play Death Stranding is I go downstairs and I play some other game while my boyfriend plays Death Stranding and I heckle him. Like that's basically the entire my Death Stranding experience. I'm like, oh, you're climbing shit, huh, baby? That's
yeah,
cool. Still
my
climbing
wife was
shit, are we?
like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You're doing the exact same thing that you were doing like an hour
He's
ago."
getting it. Yeah, he's getting like loads of likes. It's like this. I feel I go through phases with this. I'm like, at first I thought this was a really impressive take on the gig economy. Like let's take the gig economy and distill it down. You're just delivering packages. You're like human Uber. You
Yeah.
know. And then I thought like maybe it's a critique on social media, but I kind of actually like that there's because like it feels kind of heartwarming. Like you build a bridge. And then somebody else later uses that bridge and they give you a bunch of likes and you're like, I made the world a better place.
I
I built that bridge. It's like, all
I had a
right.
pretty big turn off that well I was playing it solo, so I was playing it wrong. But
Uh,
I had a pretty big turn off just as soon as I saw likes for something, I was like, ugh. Like like there's no escape.
yeah.
I
And
really didn't like
I
that.
don't know what to say. Like, there's parts of it. It's definitely something. Like, I'm glad this game exists, but also, I don't want to spoil. How far through it are you?
I'm about like 12 hours in or something, I
Yeah.
think.
I walked through.
I had just moved. I went over a boat and then I was doing stuff and then I started doing my own things. There was a bunch of like I was on like the second half, I would say. Chapter 3 or 4, I think I was in chapter 3 or 4.
Chapter 4, I think you would. Have you seen a gun yet?
There was like a little twisty tie gun you shoot and it
Oh.
like shoots out like a sling,
Mm.
but
So,
not an actual gun.
damn. So there's a moment when I left and I came back and I was like, oh, this is actually a game. Like, I thought he was playing a shooter for a while. Like, wow, Death Stranding turns into a game at one point, and then no, that ends.
Yeah, I
And then
didn't
it's
get
just
that
back to
far.
back to delivering shit,
Back to delivering shit.
climbing shit.
I got really excited. I packed up a vehicle for the first time and I went, but then I rested and then all my stuff was gone and I felt like such an idiot. I was like, "Oh my god, I just spent an hour packing up this vehicle." And I felt like shelving the game at that point. I was like, "I can't believe that." But once you realize that you do have to play multiplayer because people leave stuff around for you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that. I was just playing single player because my Wi-Fi didn't reach my living room.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, maybe I'll go back to that one day. But I feel like I've gotten most of the experience out of it. So I don't know.
All right. Yeah.
We'll have to
Yeah.
see.
It's definitely. I wouldn't play it. It's fun to observe from afar. Uh, Games I've played though, like there were so many this year. Like I can't believe how many good games came out this year. I got into Eliza for a while there. I just like shotgunned right through that game in a day.
Eliza.
It's a visual novel, which again, don't like visual novels. I've been getting way into narrative games.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad
Randomly.
place to be to be honest with you.
Yeah, but like Eliza is a visual novel written by a game developer. Basically, it really speaks to like the how do I put it? It makes some critiques on working in tech that are really relevant to the world today. I've just felt
Mm,
like I understood the person that wrote this. I was like, I this guy gets it. Like I
that's
just
great.
kind of, and it's like a. I feel like I know the author of that game. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I feel like I relate to the author of that game in a way. So I liked that one quite a bit. That's up there. God, there's been a lot of good ones. I finally played Opus Magnum. Got way too into that for a while.
Oh my gosh, we had a Discord chat that was like private where people would post their puzzle solutions, and that was so much fun. I actually really enjoy that one. Has a really good narrative as well as like just a really solid puzzle like
Yeah.
base. I don't know. It was a good game. It was
You
a
know,
really good
the
game.
reason I got into Opus Magnum is because like Malik, the new one came out, and I was like, this one
Oh,
looks.
there's another one.
Yeah, he so Zachtronics launched two games this year. This is a weird way to do games. The guy that was the writer for Opus Magnum went off and made a visual novel, Eliza, and then
Oh,
that was like a couple months ago, and then they stealth dropped. Zach just dropped a. It was just like this game early access and just put it out on Steam one day. So yeah, there's a like a
wow.
Opus Magnum 2,
Huh.
but it's not as I'm gonna say it. Like it's just not as pretty. Like it doesn't something about it just didn't hook me in. But I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, Opus Magnum exists, and I just went back and played that. Just
Oh,
like
that's great. Yeah, I mean
probably
it's
no
it's
idea.
a it's a very very solid game.
Oh
Very
yeah, oh
solid.
yeah. It's so good. Like there was a time because I was thinking about what I want to do next. Part of the reason I was talking on the podcast about like the return on puzzle games.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do I put it? A huge there's things I enjoy doing, and a lot of the things I enjoy doing involve working with other artists. Like I'm a tech artist. I
Sure.
like working with other artists, which means I have to have enough money to hire other artists, which means I need to make a game of a certain scope. That's why I think it is possible to make a good living on making puzzle games, but probably not for like a team of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
At
You kind of
least
need to be deep dive in with like you gotta have to do like the Arnold handshake with like another person, be
you
like,
you got to make something
we're
that
doing this.
you can make games. You just can't make like kind, right? And
Right.
there's ways to make it so like a puzzle game is more appealing to a broader audience. And there definitely one of the ways to do that is one of the many ways to do that is Opus Magnum kind of style games where it's more about optimization and less about finding the one solution. You
Yeah.
lose certain things. You lose like the this is a conversation with the designer and the player. You lose like a lot of that stuff, but you do get
Yeah,
like it makes a very different game, and those games are fun too.
for sure.
I
The
think
the emergence of like player expression in a puzzle game is a good thing. It's
yeah,
always going to be a good thing. I think that stuff is really great because then they can tell their own story and then they can tell it with their friends and their friends have their own
yeah,
story and like the way that they solve this one puzzle, like somebody's brain works differently. They're like, yeah, I made a Ferris wheel and like
yeah.
this thing, and like
In
somebody's like, oh,
general, I think Opus Magnum was interesting because it kind of blends what's another one like Factorio. Like there's some kind of
mm,
spectrum between puzzle and maybe simulation game, perhaps. Factorio game where you're building, constructing things, sort of maybe.
yeah, that was yeah, that's an interesting one too. I remember
That's more
watching
about
somebody at
survival.
work build a spaceship eventually, and then everybody in the office came over to watch them launch it. It was a lot of fun.
If you want to make a like those games do Satisfactory, those games do really well on Steam and on Epic Games Store. Like in general, those games just do well. That's part
Yeah,
of me
yeah,
was
yeah.
tempted to do it. I
I
wanted.
by the way, I posted a link to my 30-second trailer for like the puzzle thing that we were talking about earlier
Oh yeah,
that I did for Portal. Check it out if you get a chance. It's
we're
really
gonna put it
short.
right here.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, they can't see it. Shit.
Oh yeah, I forgot you get to stream that. Yeah, this is something that I made like 8 years ago. Oh, you have to move it to the left
Oh god,
because your photo's in the
I
way.
fucked it all up, man. I know. I just realized that it's all jacked. Here, are we still? Oh god, what have I done? Sorry. And we're back. Are we back? You stopped moving for a minute there. I was scared.
Oh, you moved yourself.
Weird.
Oh wait, I'm watching. The stream is old. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it looks fine now.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Yeah, the where was I? No, I was way distracted during that. But yeah, let me look at that again.
There we go. Let me hit refresh on Steam. Stream. Oh, a commercial. Great.
So this is the game you were talking about with the.
So it's like
I see the grid.
self-exploration, sort of like first-person exploration. You're like forced to be like a tiny robot, like against the floor, and you make like little robot noises when you walk. And there's like a little environment that you explore, and then you come up to a console, and then you solve puzzles, and then you walk away from the console and stuff like that. But this was back in the day. This was more than 8 years ago for sure. But
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun making this.
Yeah, puzzle games are fun.
Yeah, so it was like the basic idea was that you would have to, at the end of it, all the red colors basically had to be gone, so you had to make everything blue. I didn't know like the best way to like explain that back then. It's actually pretty egregious, but I look back and I go, wow, this could have been done differently and in a more interesting way.
Yeah, that's the way you always feel when you've done that, at least for me. Oh, I mean, I guess I haven't really designed that many games, but I always have. It's always the things where you're like, oh, next time I'll do this or I'll do that or it'll be different.
Yeah.
At least
I
I think
mean,
so.
so in terms of like exciting prototypes, do you think you're gonna stick with like are you gonna keep moving forward with interesting movement, or are you
Um,
ditching that for now and going with like a more straightforward type game?
I am setting it aside for a lot of the reasons I said. Like, I'm not. I have a lot of prototypes for different like puzzle games if I want to make
Hmm.
like a solo puzzle game again. But you always want something different. Like now I'm thinking, I I want to have a smaller team that I'm working with. Like I want to work with Rick Nath again. I want to have artists. I think I'm not. When I think about the things I enjoy doing, like I don't really love programming,
Yeah.
and I don't think I could make anything much bigger. Like sitting at the beginning thinking about making another puzzle game alone, um, I was pretty. There's a temptation to make things very simple so that I can program them and not have to deal with a lot of fallout. Uh, so part of what I'm doing now is I just kind of like wrote down all the things I wanted to do and I thought about it. And I think I'm gonna probably go for like a tactics game,
Hmm.
kind of a puzzly tactics game, probably something closer to like Into the Breach, something like that. That where there's puzzly elements, but there's multiple solutions. That more something like that that I think a lot more people can get into. And I do love narrative in games. And I like finding ways of telling narrative and that sort of thing. Like I
Sure.
enjoyed that part of kind. Like I really enjoyed telling the story of a fight using puzzles and things like that.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I think I can still get away with doing that kind of stuff with like tactics mechanics. Also, it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
lets me
I love mechanics that tell a story and then are used to tell a story or to make the player laugh or something like that. I think that stuff's always really
yeah,
good.
that would be fun. I think like another thing is I have a collaborator I'm starting to work with slowly. That's a programmer.
Oh,
We're gonna
nice.
try it out and see if it works. We're gonna give it till the end of the year to see if we make a prototype together, and if it doesn't, we've just agreed to like give it a go because
Oh,
this
that's
is kind of
cool.
like a I don't know, we're seeing it.
You know, it's funny. Before I joined up with Mike, I think one of the things that excited me the most about going indie was that what I was like, oh, you know what? There's all these artists online that I would love to collaborate with.
Yeah,
Like, just want to make a small little game and collaborate with somebody, either like a VR collaboration, just something small, just so I could get it out there and be done with it. And there's just so many people that you want to work with because they've got like a unique style or something that you think maybe you can bring their art to life in like a fun and interesting way. And that still excites me. And I imagine most indies kind of like get like that. If you could be like a traveling indie and like you would finish a game with somebody and then you would move on and find the next person and like make another game with them. That to me sounded like a really fun and interesting thing to do.
And there's people that do that, but I would say like generally, if you want the best indicator that a team is going to make something awesome, it's how long that specific team has worked together. And I think
I
that's
think that
something.
works.
Yeah,
Sure.
and that's something Remo brought up last week that I think is absolutely true. Like there's something to be said for getting used to working with a specific group of people. And there are definitely people that I just really do want to work with again that I love that I miss from the past. There's something appealing about getting the band back together.
Sure. I would say that like, there definitely that, but I think a part of me also wonders when you when you get to work with a bunch of different people um on a very intimate project, it would be very interesting because I don't know anybody that's really done that like personally. So I'd be interested to talk with somebody who's done that. But yeah, I mean, working with a band that you've been playing, with for a long time, ultimately allows you to play jazz music. You're playing, and somebody's gonna drop in a piano solo, and you just know that's gonna work.
Yeah.
I think that kind of stuff can be very good. But I also like the unknown as well. I
Oh
think,
yeah.
yeah.
Flannery brought up something too. Sorry, this is a total aside, but somebody in the chat brought up like if you break up Euler and Rue before you finish the dance levels. The problem with narrative in puzzle games is so you have this friction where it's like you need the player to have enough different puzzles so that if they get stuck they can go play something else. But that means like your narrative has to be completely non-linear.
Right.
So you can't have somebody break up before they fall in love, for instance. You can, and you can let people play it kind of out of order. Like you can always go back and play an earlier thing in Opus Magnum. Um, that was something I never solved. That's something I might have to think about for the next game, Leonard.
Hmm.
Like the overall meta structure of a game is challenging.
Yeah, I think I noticed that too. I
Yeah.
had done something and then I went back and then did the other thing before the thing happened. I don't know. It's fine. You kind of know that you're doing it too because you've set up your structure in a linear way on the
Yeah.
left, on the bar or whatever. So you know that you're going back in time if you go up.
I should show some of the UI that got cut for that because I thought about doing like a tree, kind of like a skill tree at one point, where
Mm.
you're like, you need to unlock this and this in order to get this, and it's just stupid. Like it just like I don't think the it's that thing where it's like I can think of all the things I wish I'd done better. That's one of them is definitely that.
Suppose you could have done like a calendar or like not a calendar, but like a timeline, like a line that goes across or something with like little squiggles and
Mm.
says like when it happened or
But
something.
it ultimately just became more confusing in a way, and I think
Mm.
like in a similar way in so the very first version of the UI was similar to what Outer Worlds did, where it's like a thing happens at a location and the quests pop up at that location. But
Hmm.
I think the Outer Worlds gets away with it because there are so many quests in each location. But it's very difficult to message to the player like, no, there's something new. Go back to here.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, I think I remember that being a little bit strange to me. I think when I was
yeah, I
playing.
think you played one of the very early versions that had that too.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's fun. So, anybody have any more questions about gaming or whatever indie life? Doesn't matter. Yes, narrative games. What have I been playing recently? This narrative. No, I mean I've just been playing a lot of Counter Strike. I need to get out of that shit. I've put so much time into that game.
You just go back to the thing that's comfortable. There's
It
times
is.
especially like when I'm tired, I don't want to learn a new system. I think that's part of why I've been playing so many narrative games. Is because I adore strategy games. I usually play strategy games, but I bought Thea the Awakening and I sat down and I was like, oh god, I have to learn this,
Mm,
and then I just like slid mentally sideways into Civ because I know even though Civ is more complicated, I know it, right? I'll just play a narrative game so that I don't have to think because sometimes it's just too tired.
yeah, I think that's a
Nice.
good note actually. Just like, oh, I don't want to have to learn new systems.
Mm.
Like that'll be annoying. Like that always bogs me down from wanting to try.
Whereas with Counter Strike, you're like in a flow, right? Like you boot it up and you just
Yeah, Counter Strike. I think it hits a certain point where it's a challenging game, and not everybody can just pick it up and play it. And I feel like I've gotten past that point where I can play it by just jumping over and playing it. because it's a very unintuitive shooter, and I feel like I've gotten past the hurdles. So like for me, it's like, yeah, great, I can jump back into this very difficult thing, and it doesn't stress me out. I can enjoy it on like a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Other
a
question: when
question.
did you?
How do you decide when you've polished your game enough? How do you know when to call it a day? I think that's.
That's
Do
an
you want to?
experience thing.
Do you want to take it? I call it diminishing returns. Like eventually you hit diminishing returns.
Yeah,
Eh.
I think for me on first person games, it's like when you're or first person shooters. Generally speaking, you have an idea for a level that like you want to get things out of it, like a certain pace, or you want to evoke a certain emotion or something like that. Or in our case, it's like how much time we want the player to spend in the level. And you get some playtesting done. You just got to keep getting the playtesting done, and when it starts to get closer and closer to what you actually wanted it to be, the pacing, the speed, any kind of surprises or anything like that, to me, that's like, okay, cool, this is in a good spot. Let's move on. You can always come back and add more audio and stuff like that, animations. Um, but yeah, generally speaking, uh, like you could literally sit on one room forever and just keep tweaking that one room. Oh, let me add this. Wouldn't it be great if this room wasn't this thing? But then you have to ask yourself, like, is it really worth it? Uh,
Or how likely am I to break stuff in the process?
Sure,
Or
sure.
like you
Like, oh yeah,
start.
let me change the look of this room. Well, that's
It's
going to change the lighting. That's gonna
yeah.
change the flow of
Or
combat.
at some point you commit to a certain thing. Like if you commit to something that's relying on something else, and then you can't go back and change that underlying thing, and eventually you get to a point where it's like QA is QA to this level. I can't change, like, if I
Yeah,
move this box, I have to relight it and I have to retest it, and I don't have the money to retest it. Like, it reaches a point where it's ridiculous.
yeah.
It's just time to
I think
call
that's
it.
one of the reasons when I make my layouts for Proteus, um, and I've got like a big section. I'll work on that big section first because that'll have the most unknowns. And
Mm.
usually speaking, like when you've got the art look down for the big section, it makes all the littler sections way easier to go in because you wouldn't start with the small sections and then try and make the big section match the little ones. That's just not going to work. So you would start with the big one, figure out your look, the feel for the level and the atmosphere, and then you kind of branch outward from there, and you kind of take different sections at different times to kind of match that. But like that's generally how you would know, like, okay, yeah, this is in a good spot. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right.
But
I have
that
a.
that definitely differs per game. It's just something that you've got to feel out.
Yeah. All right. I have a question. Dare Goldfish, did you think of a system where you had a limited amount of moves to finish a level? I realized the game was mostly freeform jazz, but since you're signed now, it'd be cool to have a composer and limited sheets of music, so your gaming score would be the musical score. I'm not quite sure what you're saying, man. So you're saying like as you play the level, it makes a song. That was something we I was thinking about early on, and I mean I worked with a musician and I asked him what he wanted to do, and we riffed on a couple of different ideas like what's technically possible. Um, I'm not entirely sure I understand the question though.
I think
How's your
that's
pitching?
I think that's what they're saying is like there's a sheet of music and that's your movements. Like each note is a move,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're beholden to that one particular sheet, and then it makes a song as you move.
Yeah, I'd have to think of how to make that. So you only have 30 moves for a level.
I think that's fun. Putting limitations on puzzle stuff makes like it could be like a very open-ended puzzle, but if you have a limitation on the amount of moves, that's where like the real like player expression stuff starts to come in because like how do I get to this location in the least amount of moves or whatever.
Mm.
That's kind of the fun thing about the Zachtronics games. I feel like it was like, oh yeah, how do I do this with the least
Yeah.
amount of things?
I mean, I think that it's good if you make a game for it, like Zachtronics. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I've seen
Yeah.
it. The thing is, I've seen it slapped onto games, and it's like really shitty if it's slapped on and you don't consider it from the beginning.
Yep.
Like if it's just you get 5 stars if you do this in 2 moves, and you get
We're
4 stars. It's like, oh, fuck
gonna
this.
make a level in Proteus where you only get one clip of the shotgun, and then that's it, and you have to survive. You have to figure out how to finish the level and kill everybody at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just you kind of have to design for that from the get go. You have to plan that from the beginning to make that really work well. Uh.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
Anyway, I'm running out of gas. I think.
Yeah, me too. My
Yeah.
coffee's done. I'm out. I'm out of coffee, and I've only got water left. And
Yeah.
who
Third
wants to
person.
drink water? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun. It's a good time as always. Um, yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody in chat. It's always good to see old friends too. Wait, oh, I did miss something. You sign when? Oh, you already asked that. Blech. Yeah, that was Crowbar. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Some good questions in here too. Yeah, Gwen, do you have anything final that you want to?
No, I'm not. I'm not good at goodbyes. Let's just do it.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Later, everyone.